you know what it is. You're live and direct on Harambe Radio, your Friday night edition, and there's always a special edition going on because it's a real special place. You know what I mean? So tonight we want to kind of rap a little bit, have a off-the-cuff chat, as our brother, the Honorable El Hajj Malik Shabazz would say, formerly Malcolm X. You know, we want to have an off-the-cuff chat and really rap about, you know, cultural things, and also some of the things that's coming up, you know, Happily Natural, Black August, and all that good stuff. First and foremost, before we go into it, really wanted to just kind of tap on, you know, what it is we're commemorating, because a lot of times folks look at Black August as like some type of event or a concert, so on and so forth, and that's far from the truth, you know. So we kind of want to touch on that. For those of you that don't know, Black August was came about 31 years ago. It was a commemoration of some of the folks who were assassinated behind enemy lines or within the prison system, former political prisoners, you know, and also to commemorate brothers and sisters who are still, you know, locked up behind the wall, you know, on false charges, you know. So we kind of want to really just touch on that because, you know, we feel that that's very important to know, you know, what the reason is. First and foremost, you know, again, it's to commemorate folks who were under the leadership of men like George Jackson and W.L. Nolan and Gatari Golden and the like, you know. So we wanted to clear the air on that. Each year during the month of August, we fast and work out and refrain from, you know, eating before sundown and before sunset, and also, you know, exercise and really just getting our minds and things of that nature right. You know, no drugs, no alcohol, and really just working on bettering ourselves. So, you know, this is something that we do each year during the month of August. And we have different types of workshops and programs and also concerts and things of that nature as well. You know, so two of the places that we'll be commemorating this year, or actually three of the places. One would be Oakland, California. The other would be Richmond, Virginia, and also Atlanta, Georgia. So basically want to just run through it and let you all know what was going on with that. We want to really start it off tonight by introducing some of the folks that's going to be online with us tonight. My brother Kalonji, of course, Kalonji Changa, the FTP movement, you know, riding shotgun. We got my man, Brother Manifest, also known as Duron Chavis. And we have the good sister, Kiymoi Rollins from the Good Hair Shop. You know what I mean? And we're just going to kind of touch, you know, I can pretty much let them run off their bios and things of that nature. I guess we can start off with Brother Manifest as far as, you know, what Happily Natural is and all of that type of stuff.
All right, what's up, everybody? This is Brother Manifest, also known as Duron Chavis. A lot of folks know me as Brother Manifest. I'm the founder of Happily Natural Day, Richmond, Virginia. About 7-8 years ago, we set it off and started celebrating natural hair, holistic health, cultural awareness, and social change. And we've been drumming up this natural call, this call for us to love ourselves, for us to do for self, for us to identify with our own culture, and for us to start working to make a difference in our community for, I would say, probably a lot longer than that, but since 2003 officially. People come from all around for the festival, but it's a blessing to be working with Brother Kalonji Changa down in Atlanta. Now that we made an official connection as a member of FCP movement, we are definitely excited about merging the worlds of getting people that are tuned into this aesthetic aspect of our culture, of our identity, and bringing them into the proactive, progressive, more movement-oriented aspects of our culture as well. So yeah, I mean, I do a lot, bro. The head organizer of the Richmond North Market, which promotes holistic health and physical wellness. We have organic black farmers coming every Saturday into Richmond, connecting food to urban deserts, places where there is limited to no organic fresh produce. Every Saturday you can come out and get fruits and vegetables for $20 in bulk if you sign up on a weekly basis with the Happily Natural CSA. In addition to graphic design, web design, It's kind of my focus to continue putting together different vehicles to raise the consciousness of our people and also meet the needs that we have on an everyday basis. Trying to drum up that energy, man, and get people agitated enough so they can start making some changes in their own lives, and also educating everyone so they can have the proper foundation to know what they can actually do to shift, change, and organize and make some substantial changes in their community.
Right on. Okay. Sound like you know what I'm saying, you laid it out pretty, laid it out the way it needs to be laid out. Last but not least, we have our good sister Kiymoi on the line. Kiymoi, you tell the people, who you are and what your role is with what we're doing this year.
Okay. Peace, everybody. This is Sister Kiymoi. I'm the owner of the Good Hair Shop based in Atlanta. We have an organic and holistic space. Kind of one of the more radical natural hair shops because we don't do any pressing, no straightening, no weaves, no nothing. Just whatever the Most High sent you here with, that's what we're working on. We have organic products, vegan-friendly ingredients. I've been a natural hair stylist pretty much for most of my life. Love doing all the kinks, coils, and waves that pass through into the shop. My role for the Black August Naturally Natural Day weekend is for Atlanta. I coordinate and produce the Natural Hair and Fashion Show. And that's my business.
Cool. So that's, that's what's up, sister. We also have Sister Ajoke. I know that our good brother Delani made an effort to reach out to her, so hopefully she'll be joining us shortly. But I guess, Manifest, you can go ahead and comment.
Well, there's a lot of energy in the air right now. People all over the world really are becoming more in tune to themselves. One of those ways in which we are seeing amongst Africans globally who are becoming more identifying more with themselves is this resurgence in the natural hair movement. More and more sisters are starting to go natural. The prevalence of trending topics on Twitter, the popping up of all types of blogs, YouTube video blogs, to just websites dedicated to natural hair is an awesome thing. And so it's really intriguing to be a part of this movement. But we want to definitely chop it up with some of the sisters. And since we got Sister Kiymoi on the line, I'm always an advocate of trying to pick the brains of women in our community, about the whole concept of natural. And today I wanted to just go over some things, just kind of build with you. I know that the insights that are often unleashed in these types of conversations are inspirational to women who may be considering going natural and or who may be already natural and just need that additional reinforcement. So one of the first questions I wanted to ask you, sis, is, well, first off, just to be blunt, how long you been natural?
I've actually been natural for longer than I've had to relax. I've been natural since 1993. I didn't do the transition. I was natural when there were no blogs, no support groups, no nothing. I went from very long, thick, relaxed, shoulder-length hair on Monday morning to being completely clean, shaven, and bald, like on a Monday night back in 93.
Wow. So what,
that's gangster right there. That's gangster right there.
Yeah, that is heavy, because I see a lot of sisters talking about transitioning, and, they want to do the big chop, they want to grow out a little bit before they, what encouraged you to go natural, and what inspires you to just go in like that?
I think because in our society, where there's always so much pressure put on just the hair. And for me, I've always been identified with my hair. It was, Kiymoi, that girl with that long hair. And in college, I just got to a point where I wanted people to see me for who I really was. And I thought, what better way than to do that than just to cut it all off. At the time, I was dating a brother that was just, he was the dorm room barber, so I went with him to, just cut it off. He refused to do it, so I just took the clippers and went straight down the middle, so there's no coming back after you go straight down the middle. And that's where it is. I think with sisters dealing with the whole transitioning thing, I try and help sisters out as best as we can with that whole transitioning phase. And for some of the people listening, the transitioning stage is when the sister has a relaxer and decides that she wants her hair to go natural, and she just stops getting a perm. And so she allows her natural hair to grow out with the relaxed hair on the end still connected, and then gets to a point where she just cuts off those relaxed ends. We do in the shop give some sisters some leeway in that whole transitioning phase, but we do get to a point when it's like, hey, you got to commit. Either you're going to commit to the natural hair, you're going to commit to the relaxer, or having your hair relaxed. And I think that the whole transitioning thing with a lot of sisters that are natural, now it just maybe kind of gives them a little bit more time, I guess, to wrap their whole brain around being natural. But I encourage sisters from the moment that you have that thought and you want to be natural, just cut it all off. We have sisters that come into the shop that have shoulder-length hair, long hair, whatever, and they cut it off immediately. And then some sisters that just have, a little bit, be struggling trying to hang on to those relaxed ends. Okay.
Okay. So we're gonna take it to the stage real quick and go for this quick break and add on one of the sisters, and we'll get right back at you. Okay, yeah, we back in effect. We had some technical things to work out, but along the way we found, found a fourth comrade, that was just out there in the world, and we just snatched her up out the air and just said, where you at, Ajoke? And then all of a sudden she appeared. So we want to have her introduce herself real quick, you know what I mean? And, the brother continue on where he's at. Sister Ajoke, you in the building?
I'm in the building. Peace and blessings, family.
How you doing?
Man, I'm wonderful. Fired up.
Okay, that's cool. Okay. Real quick, we just want to get an introduction from you, who you are, and what your role is with, what we're doing, and we can take it from there. And where you located also.
Yeah, I'm currently residing in Jacksonville, Florida, and I am coordinating the Course for Political Prisoners piece of Black August weekend in Atlanta. We're looking to really just mobilize the community in understanding the grave injustices that have befallen, our warriors, and the injustices that are continuing right now when we talk about the prison industrial complex and how it affects our community as a whole. So,
word up. Yeah, tell the people a little bit about, who you are and everything, because we went back to the meet, but, it's all good.
Yeah. But actually, I am an activist, revolutionary poet. I run a homeschool program, Sankofa Freedom Academy, for the youth, for my children as well as other families coming on. I guess I could say I was one of the original members of FTP movement at its conception in Atlanta. You know what I mean? And currently, the main focus right now for myself is just really on educating our babies, properly educating our babies, so that we don't continue to have them go through the cycles that we're trying to correct in the community right now.
No doubt. No doubt. Yes, and just for the record, you know what I'm saying, Malika was one of the, when we got here to Atlanta, she's one of the first four to, you know, to make this thing happen as far as in the ATL area. And, you know, she's one of the primary reasons that we actually had the Feed the People program. You know what I mean? It started off as four of us. I was the only male, and we had three sisters, and there was another male that just was running around us that the sisters had the bodyguard, but we ain't gonna get into all that. But, he didn't really count. He was coming along for the ride because he thought the sisters was going to get down with him or something like that, but that never happened. But anyway, you know, so definitely, you know, the sister is definitely one of you know, one of my closest comrades. You know, but we're going to get back to the business with Brother Manifest. I know he was driving the car, and then we switched gears quick.
Okay, good, Junkie. How you doing?
Hi, wonderful brother. How are you?
I'm blessed. It's good to meet you. I'm happy to have you involved in, well, happy to be working with you. You're already involved. I'm happy to be working with you, like, in this capacity. So, what me and Kiyomi were talking about, kalonji was also involved in the conversation. We were talking about this natural hair movement, and I was kind of going in on a couple questions just that always piques my interest when I meet sisters that are natural, in hopes that you know, some of the insights that, you know, will be relayed, you know, could inspire sisters in the community, and overall, you know. But I left off before we went to break. I was asking Sister Kiyomi what encouraged her to go natural. So I want to just kind of like pose that same question to you. What exactly, you know, pushed you to the ledge and then, you know, caused you to jump over the cliff when you decided to go natural?
Well, actually, you know, what caused me to I guess we say, climb out of the pit, you know, in terms of having been permed to go back to being natural. It's real interesting, you know, I was raised by my father, and my father was a minister in the Nation of Islam, you know, early on, and he moved into Sunni Islam after Elijah Muhammad's, you know, passing. And so I was always raised with a certain level of consciousness, you know, very aware of community and our people and those kinds of things. But I had permed hair. And so I must have been, I was about 13, and I meet, you know, this brother through a common contact. And so we're building on the phone on these books, and we're talking this and that, you know, going on and on. I was in high school selling, you know, books and tapes and incense out my locker and that kind of thing. That Shiki was still permed hair, you know what I mean? And so when I finally meet this brother in person, he looks at me, and he has like this disgusted look on his face. And I don't really understand where he's going, you know, with that whole look. And he said, well, sister, let me ask you a question. Why do you perm your hair?
Many of our brothers and sisters.
And it was a confusing question, because it's like, what do you mean? You know what I mean? What do you mean, why do I perm my hair? And he was like, no, why do you perm your hair? And I couldn't figure out what kind of answer he wanted, so I was like, to make it straight, you know what I'm saying? And he said, what improvement can there be on God's reflection?
That's a powerful month.
That was his statement. And for the first time, I consciously realized what was going on with me. And I think that's the thing with most of us. It's not a conscious thing. We don't look in the mirror and say, you know, I hate myself. I want to look, you know, more like the European, you know, standard of beauty. Let me perm my hair. It's so deeply ingrained, you know, in terms of as soon as we're old enough, our hair is straightened. As soon as we're old enough, chemicals are put in. You know what I mean? We're never really taught to wear or even care for our natural hair. So it was just like a slap in the face when that reality hit me that you're right. You know what I'm saying? Black is beautiful, all this and that, but I still have an issue with my image. And so he took me to the barber shop, and I cut all my hair the same day, got my nose pierced and everything, you know, and I haven't looked back since. So I was 13 then, I'll be 33 this year, so, you know, I'm going almost 20 years strong.
Wow, congratulations.
Well, there's a reality.
Thank you.
I know it's, you know, it's just a spirit of society that we live in that pushes this standard of beauty all of us, brothers and sisters alike.
Let me ask you this, man. You mentioned the Scott sisters. I know that you were part of the group that were downtown D.C. on Monday. Do you want to share anything about that day, or is that going to wait for another time?
Chain, you know what I mean?
I want to share, man, because I want to hail up
we are put in that we feel like we have to fulfill that role of looking like the Western standard of beauty.
And all those names that far too many for me.
We often hear about sisters saying that they have, sort of
representing
hard time going natural. What would you consider some of the obstacles that women have? And did you consider those the obstacles after you went natural? Like, was it sort of like a interior desire to maybe go back and perm your hair again, or no?
Man, once I cut my hair, it was hard for me to remember having a crime.
Of any crime.
You know what I mean? I felt so much like myself, and I never felt more beautiful. Like, I remember everything about that day. I remember what I was wearing, you know what I'm saying? I remember the fact that one of the elders, had, was selling fish sandwiches on the corner, all of these things. But what I will say is probably the hardest thing for most sisters, I just think most sisters, I'm kind of strong-willed like that. I don't really care what nobody thinks, But I think the biggest issue with most sisters is brothers accepting us naturally as beautiful. I think that's the biggest barrier. And so while, you applaud us for taking that step and, claiming ourselves, we have to applaud brothers like you, Brother Kalonji, and the like, that see an African woman in her natural state and say, this is the most beautiful thing on the planet. You know what I mean? This is the standard of beauty. And as a woman, the whole thing is you want to feel beautiful. You want to be very feminine. And I think that's where it starts. I don't mean to cut you off, but I think considering to go natural, that's really where it starts. You got to love yourself and be regardless. Regardless. And the one thing that brothers appreciate about us is our confidence. So regardless, even when your hair was straight, there was something that somebody didn't like about you. So I think initially, if a sister's considering to go natural, what she has to arm herself with first is self-love. And I think one of the things that you see about a lot of us sisters that are natural, that are a little bit, older and have been natural for a long time, one of the common personality traits about it is that we really have a real strong self-esteem. We have a real strong self-love of ourselves first. So when we do hear some of the younger sisters talking about, oh my God, I got to go natural, what am I going to do? For us, the one personality trait is that self-love. So if a sister considering it, you got to reach deep within. And it really is an opportunity for you to learn about yourself, because when it's just you and the bald head, it's you and the bald head. It's no vanity, it's just you and that mirror and your soul reflecting back. So for newer people, considering it, you just got to love yourself. People are always going to have something to say, no matter what. No matter what. And it gets interesting on a few levels, because I mentioned the men, just because as women, of course, we want the approval. You know what I mean, as men. That's such a heavy, heavy weight. But one of the things that I went through, that I'm sure a lot of people do, I probably got given the hardest time from the women in my family. It used to be jokes, like with my mother and with my sister, we're going to tie her down and perm her hair, you know what I'm saying, kind of thing, and all of these things. And the thing about your natural hair, too, it becomes like a uniform. Now things are kind of more faddish, being natural is kind of the cool thing to do. 20 years ago, for a woman, brothers might have sported a fro, started that whole thing again, started with the cornrows again, but wasn't no sisters with no natural hair, in droves like it is now. So then it became like a tattoo. It became like a uniform. So then, you can't hide so much, because your hair really made a statement about who you are. You know what I mean? It made a statement for you. And too many of us, men and women, we've become comfortable going in between the two worlds, between the conscious and unconscious, between the revolutionary and, the real revolutionary and the internet revolutionary. You know what I'm saying? Right. So there are things that we do. So certain things that we do, really set you out. And they tell on you. When people see my hair, we used to joke, me and my oldest daughter, my hair stands in resistance for me. You should be able to look at me and already know what's going on. You know what I mean? Let me interject real quick. Because you raised a very interesting point. Do you consider going natural a hairstyle or a lifestyle?
For living.
Like, which one do you think
that it's either or should it be both? Or which one do you?
Well, I think it's convoluted now. I think it's convoluted now because it's become just as mainstream and as faddish as anything else. You know what I mean? Just like it was a time where if you saw, brothers in fatigues, it meant something. It said something about what he was into and what he was doing. If you see a brother wear fatigues now, it don't mean jack. Like you got to do more investigation. And it's the same with the natural hair at this stage. For some it is a hairstyle, for some it is a lifestyle. For me, this is the culture. This is a part of the culture. It really is no separation. It's just who we are. But I know sisters who it's just, it's cool to have locks and, curl them up and do this and that. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm glad, sometimes you got to take the little to get to the lot. You know what I mean? And the blessing in it is at least we're starting to accept it as a form of beauty.
Word is going to spread all over north, south, east, and west.
What do you think? Do you think it's either a lifestyle? Do you think is it a lifestyle? Do you consider it a lifestyle or hairstyle?
By dying
I think it's just, kind of playing what you were saying. It's a little bit of both. I think for me, because, this is what I do every single day, my hope is that we're finally starting to kind of break that cycle of kind of having to feel like it was the right to have a perm. The one thing I do see with the sisters, going natural now, just for the style of it, is that they're the very first ones that know that it's not an option for their daughters, for their children, to get a relaxer in their hair. So, hopefully, maybe, another 10 years from now, it is. So I see this is something that's, just generational. Just as the sister says, it's been ingrained in us to have straight hair. So now that sisters are becoming awakened to the trend of it, they're taking those baby steps or being aware of the lifestyle, of it. For some of us, what we are. Like for my children, it is they don't even, they just learned about this term, quote unquote, natural hair. It's just their hair. Hair is not a big deal in our household because this is how God made us. It's our reflection, of God. So it's not necessarily a big deal to some of the sisters that are just becoming natural now. The reason why it's such a big deal for them is that I think with it kind of becomes that when you really learn what's in the perm, what's in the relaxer, and then you just start questioning, you have that like, now why am I doing this again? So my only hope is that we'll really start to, hopefully generational, just not pass it on, to our children and stop perming and relaxing, the children's hair. I see little girls that come into the shop, they're 3, and they've suffered terrible hair damage and hair loss because of a relaxer. So it's like, to me, that's like child neglect right there. I put that in the same category as abuse. So my hope is that, to answer your question, it's a lifestyle to some, it's a way of life, for others, and for some it is just a trend that hopefully it'll lead to, a lifestyle, and a life commitment, for them.
Well, let me ask you this. Back in the 60s and 70s, like going natural was kind of like really considered a really rebellious type of situation. I mean, as we even know, even 20 years ago was that. What do you think happened that caused a disconnection in the political nature of, hair in the black community and, as it relates to our culture specifically?
With that, what I think happened affected not just hair. I think it affected everything. If we look at history and we look at the movements in the 60s and these things, so much information was so widely available about the atrocities that were happening. So it kept the people stirred up. It kept the people fired up. If we notice, by the time we got to the Vietnam War, everything was on a hush-hush. You know what I mean? Now we don't want to show everything. Now we want to hold information. You understand? And we became complacent. And I think that we really bought into this ideology that, we're okay. We're past that time now. It's no longer necessary. There's no statement to be made. The same way that we have those who have, become more comfortable, even those who may have worn the afros and the naturals back in the 60s, who are the first ones to get a perm now. The same way you have those who are, comfortable turning away from the atrocities that we see and making excuses for why it's okay. We've become complacent, and without struggle, there is no progress. You understand? So we have to stay agitated. We have to stay informed, and this is why we have to be so heavy on the propaganda. We have to be real clear about putting it in the face of the people. This is the real. This is what's going on. You know what I'm saying? There's so many smoke and mirrors now. There's so many smoke and mirrors.
But Ajoke, do you want to jump in? Or do you think that in the 60s there was like any similarities today? Personally, when I see it, you know, I look at a war, you know, perpetual war. I look at the number of brothers in prison. I look at the police brutality. You know, I look at the unemployment levels, and I see a lot of similarities. You know, I see this natural hair resurgence. You know, I think a lot of what we are seeing now, you know, we saw it in too. You know, in some ways, but there are some differences. Well, for instance, one of the similarities, you talk about sisters going natural and it just being a trend. You know, brother.
I'm on the radio.
Brother Olanipekun Brown talked about the Grandasa models and how sisters would go natural just for the pageant, and then, you know, they go right back to their straight hair. But what do you think? You know, and now, you know, do you feel as though, you know, history is kind of repeating itself in this era, or do you think that, you know, it's a different time? You know, it's kind of all right for folks to kind of like turn that complacency switch on and just you know, be like, I know. Well, let me rephrase that. Not the complacency switch. I say, do you think it's okay for sisters to just look at natural hair as just a hairstyle, considering, you know, our particular reality, even to the roots of our hair, the history of hair in our culture as it plays a role in our society as African people?
I think maybe one of the similarities is that during the 60s and 70s, we were without, like, you know, it was tight for everybody. Then the 80s came along, and our parents and people just got, the complacency came because people started getting a little extra money in their pocket, started getting a little comfortable, integration, you know, occurred, and so then it became important to not necessarily go to the shop that was around the corner, but to go to the shop that the white people actually owned, you know, outside of your neighborhood. So I think maybe one of the things now, which makes it kind of similar, is that, you know, here it is, the recession is really real for people. I don't know how it's been for the people on the phone, but we've been in a recession for a minute, so I'm good. I know how to survive and what to do. But for the masses, a lot of the sisters or people in our community, similarities is it's getting tight again. You know, those comfortable places and things that we had, we're no longer comfortable in those jobs, you know, that people were comfortable with. They no longer have those homes that, you know, they so desperately fought for to have in the suburbs, they don't have anymore. So I think that's where some of those similarities, you know, come from, where it's kind of like a shock to the system that's allowing some of the people in the community to kind of look back to, you know, just going back to basics. Going back to basics. And one of the things I do hear people say when they talk about going natural is how much money they spend, you know, in a year just on relaxers and weaves and things.
Right. I want to give you an opportunity to answer too, Ajoke.
Yeah, you know, my thing with that is that, again, I'm pleased only to the point that we are starting to view our natural selves as beautiful. You know, because the reality is when it comes to the money, and, you know, the sister is so head on, you know, the money ain't there, you know, for them $120 dues, you know, and all of these kinds of things, so people are going back. But it's a small victory, and we must celebrate all victories, because if that sister did not recognize that she could be beautiful in this natural state, trust me when I say she found $120.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it does show, you know, it does show that there is a shifting in the way that we look at things. And it may be very subtle for some, but it is a beginning. And so I'm excited about that. But, you know, when it comes to, like, our complacency overall, I mean, the reality is we traded shackles for titles and what they would consider, you know what I'm saying, a good paying job. You know, we traded in shackles for being able to sit amongst our enemy, you know what I'm saying, as if though that was something to be desired. You know, so even with us celebrating this small victory of being able to see ourselves in somewhat of a different light, you know, we can't afford to be complacent. We can't afford it.
Mm-hmm. Well, in that vein, how do you feel like we can combat that complacency? Because I see like a lot of energy is being focused into large gatherings of sisters. And I'm, in my opinion, I think that there ain't no movement if the sisters ain't involved. And what I'm starting to see more and more frequency since back in the early 2000s and late 90s. In terms of these natural hair expos and these large gatherings that are just dealing with the hair, how do we combat, the complacency in that context? Like, if there's so many sisters coming together and gathering around this hair piece, around this going natural piece, how can we, in y'all opinion, how do you think that we can combat that complacency? Or what are some ways, I should say?
I think by definitely just having events such as, as the Black August Happily Natural Day celebration weekend, and trying to make sure that we make those events accessible to the people.
What do you want to
So I think we just have to make sure that we are doing, the radio show that we're having here, the events that we're doing, making ourselves accessible, through the internet, the social networking thing. I think that's how I think that can kind of help the complacency of the sisters. And then, too, I don't know how the other sister gets, what your experience is, but I know even with me, just as you said, you walk around with your natural hair, and the sisters that are newly natural always approach us. Always got a question, something about the hair. So I know that I always make that time to have that dialogue with those sisters. And even some of the brothers, for that matter.
I think, to piggyback on what you said, I agree 100%. You know what I mean? We have to represent in every way that we can. In the small, one-on-one arenas, when sisters or brothers approach us about the hair, I do a lot of educating with my clients, you know what I mean, because I do hair as well. All of these kinds of things, my children speak to people about hair. So those are the small points of contact. And then on a bigger level, it is with events such as Happily Natural, the Black August weekend. One of the things that we have to do, one of the things that has happened is that we have been taught to devalue what is ours naturally, to value somebody else's standard, and that standard is so much higher, than what we've been taught our standard is. So we have to show, in the way that we present ourselves and in the events and things that we put on, that ain't nothing lacking over here. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing lacking over here. I own a catering company, the Anwaza Company, and one of the services that we offer, we do what I call Kupinda Dining. Kupinda Dining is intimate love dining for couples. You know what I mean? And we mingle, a fully 5-course meal that I designed for the couple with traditional African things like setting up the love altar. We bring in the whole spa treatments. We got the rocks and all the herbs for the soak the brother's feet. I had a couple, the brother said to me, I never thought this would be something that I would be doing. We can be African and sexy now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the whole but that's the whole thing. Like, we don't associate all those things with who we are naturally. And so we have to constantly express that it's nothing that they got that we ain't got better. You know what I mean? We're not substandard. We're not substandard.
How do you connect that idea of loving yourself with making a difference in your community? Is one necessarily predicated upon the other, or can you have one without the other?
Love is the basis of it all.
Yeah.
Love is the basis of it all. We are warriors because we love. The harder we love, the harder we fight. You know what I'm saying? Because now you have something to fight for.
Yeah. And I think that love of self allows you to be able to go out into the community. I love myself so much, and I love my people so much, that if I see a young brother with his pants sagging and he might got a gold grill in his mouth, I'm not afraid to say hello to that brother, to look that brother in his eye and say hello. How you doing, young man? How you doing, brother? When I see a young sister out there, hey, sis, how you doing? Because I love myself so much, I don't have that fear of my people. It allows you, if you see somebody doing something wrong in the community, to be able to speak up, for that person. You know, so I think I agree with you. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah, you know, we have to feed our folks. You know, when you talk about loyalty and love, you can take a child, for instance. It doesn't even have to be your biological child. If you feed and you nurture that child, you know what I mean, then that love and that loyalty is going to be there. We have to rebuild these things in our community, so we can't do it without love. You know, before I can ask you to trust me and to trust the information I'm giving you that's contrary to everything you probably heard your entire life, you understand? You have to be given a reason to trust me. How can I expect you to trust me if I can't show you how much I love you?
Yeah.
You understand? So
you have to have that love for self. I think that you know, that rebuilding of our aesthetic, of our cultural identity, of us redefining what it means to be beautiful for ourselves, or basically wiping the slate clean and saying this is what the Creator gave us, and we're happy with that, and we're blessed. It's kind of like a step one. You know what I'm saying? In order and being able to look into the mirror and see yourself, look yourself in the eye and say, I love that. It's basically step one to, you know, everything else, to whatever angle you're going to attack this problem, or whatever angle you're going to heal, you know, you're going to use to heal this problem in our community. What ways do you all see, you know, yourselves integrated into healing our communities and lifting our communities up? And not so much just, you know, in terms of the events that we're doing this summer, but just overall.
I think it's kind of interesting, just when we talk about the, you know, loving yourself and loving the community. One of the things that we do in the shop is every single sister that comes to the shop, we call them beautiful. And I'm always saying to somebody that comes into the shop that are struggling with that image and that reflection, that they're looking back at the mirror, you know, maybe the time they come into the shop is the first time they're seeing themselves with their natural hair, is to say, sis, you're beautiful. I mean, that's so simple, but a lot of times sisters don't hear that, and then to see themselves with that natural reflection, that's healing. That's healing, because a lot of times they're not going to hear it, and maybe they don't even believe it themselves. So that is one thing we do on a daily basis, is tell a sister how beautiful she is. And it's unfortunate that that's such a powerful thing, because that should just be, you know, a given, that sister knows that.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And that is one of the ways. And, you know, with me, in terms of really expressing that love for self, you know, I practice the tradition of Ifa. You know, here, and in terms of my godmother and being prepped, you know, for initiation and things as well, it is about doing the work to heal, not necessarily the judgment, because, you know, sometimes we forget where we came from. We forget when we didn't know. You know, I didn't forget that I used to have a perm. And I think sometimes it's about being able to reach our people where they are, to get them to where they need to be. You know what I mean? And being humble enough to understand that at the heart of it all, we are nothing but servants. We are nothing but servants of our community. You know what I mean? And that's all that it is. And that's a really big deal, because we see this shift sometimes. You know, you do a little work, you got a little name, somebody know a little something about you, and then now you're untouchable, you're unreachable. You know what I mean? We have to always be available to anyone who is in need. That is the heart of what community is. We are family. You know what I'm saying? We are a family. And so if you're not good, I'm not good. And we have to be, you know, ready to communicate that on many levels. Whether it's teaching a sister how to cook, you know, that's married and got 3 children, and somehow she never got that lesson, as opposed to sitting back with African woman can't cook a pot of food. You know what I mean? We can't take that attitude. We can't take that attitude. It's all about growth. And just like, you know, we may have grown beyond where somebody is now, we look at our elders and some of our peers, and we're nowhere near. You know what I mean? So it's a continuous cycle, and we have to remind ourselves of that. You know, in the African tradition, we are always teacher and student simultaneously, teaching those below us while learning from those above us. Period.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Well, I just want to give y'all major props, man, and tell you that I love both of y'all dearly. I'm appreciative, like from the core of my soul, to see that you all. that y'all have dedicated yourselves to the movement and dedicated yourselves to lifting up our community. I mean, I think it's so awesome. I mean, really, to see sisters just see sisters who have taken the initiative to put themselves in a position to be agents of change in our community, especially as it relates to programs that are not the conservative type of programs that are about change. You know, when it comes down to it, there's a lot of people in our community that want to make a difference, but they kind of feel fearful of being, labeled as XYZ. Maybe they might be, they don't want to go left, and now I think that now with the right being so far right and the conservatives not having nothing to conserve, we have no choice but to go left.
Yeah.
So I'm greatly appreciating you all just making that commitment, man, and it's really an awesome thing, especially when the sisters are on the forefront. So I just want to take a moment, man, to tell y'all thank you, because it's really important, especially for the sisters to get involved. I mean, personally, I just take the example of Fela Kuti. Fela surrounded himself with women. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you only can imagine, what kind of energy was being drummed up with sisters supporting the movement, in Nigeria. Even to this day, Mama and Jerry just passed away from Nkoba. It's a pillar in our community. So, it's heavy. It's heavy for us to commend sisters and also encourage sisters to get involved in events like Black August, events like Happily Natural Day, because basically at the core of it, Elijah Muhammad taught us that a nation can rise no higher than its women. Go ahead, brother. I'm zoning.
I actually forgot I was on the line. I was just listening to y'all. I'm like, man, they so cool and everything. I'm just kicked back, put my feet up, and and sip some of this ginger. But I just wanted to say that definitely, you know what I'm saying, as Che Guevara said, true revolutionary is guided by feelings of love. When you talk about sisters, the FTP movement, and for all practical purposes, exists because of the fact that, when the going got tough and the tough got going, it was mainly sisters that pretty much helped hold us down, and that's how it is to this day. We got a lot of brothers that's they're straight up and down soldiers, but when it comes to really doing it behind the scene work and just keeping everything in perspective, you know what I mean? It's the sisters that's really been putting it down or whatever. So definitely, there oftentimes I hear brothers and sisters talk about how they need more sisters in the movement, things of that nature. There are a lot of sisters in the movement, but the thing is, a lot of their voices aren't being heard, and not only that, not just because, oftentimes some of their voices are being suppressed. At the same time, a lot of sisters aren't, feeling like they can take the position or stand, stand and deliver as far as the message. But again, at the same time, that doesn't mean that the work's not being put in. I think that we got to really begin to understand that, there's a role for everyone. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has a part to play in this. Part of the reason why I wasn't talking much when it came to the whole natural hair thing is because of the fact that, indeed, I love, sisters with natural hair, but then again, I love sisters. And I'm understanding that, I try to meet people where they at. You know what I mean? And I'm saying that because of the fact that oftentimes in my life, when I was in the streets and I was a little more, how can I say this, a little more rough around the edges, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. Very politically correct right there, brother. Very politically correct.
I tried to. But whenever it was, real deal showdown, man, a lot of times it was the sisters with the perms that held me down, and it was the brothers with the locks that ran and got their gallons of waters and their staff, and they broke camp. You know what I mean? So, and no disrespect to anybody listening, and if anyone's offended, this is how we do. You already know who I am. You know how to reach me, but at the same time, man, we got to do more than just look the part, man. We really got to, as Imam Jamil from the H-Rap Brown said, you can't just have a natural on your head and a perm mind. You know what I mean? There's a lot of sisters and brothers that have natural hair, or their thinking is so far European, man, and perm that they'd rather just go. I mean, they might as well just go and get a Jerry curl or something because.
Yeah, Martin Mills said it best. I mean, you're absolutely right. He said something like something like black is not enough. When we talk about black is beautiful and everything. Because the black man in office was a mayor when they bomb moved. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's
black man in office. So we gotta definitely it's definitely substance over image, man. Definitely substance.
You said to be black is necessary, but it ain't sufficient. But at the same time, I want to point out as well, in defense of the natural hair, you know what I'm saying, in defense of that culture, you know what I mean? Like our sister Kiyomi was saying a few ticks ago about, we are ushering in a new era, and it is a new generation. So certainly, you have these brothers and sisters that have the natural hair now that may not be on point politically as far as, with political education or what have you, or quote-unquote conscious or whatever you might want to call it, they still have, they still got the love for image itself. So now it's time for us to do our job. Those of us that know better, do better. It's time for us to really get out there and organize and say, okay, boom, sister, yes, you are beautiful. Brother, yes, you are beautiful. Now, this is the business right here. This is what's going on in the community. So this is where we got to meet you at right now. So what role are you ready to play? You know what I'm saying? What position are we going to do? And that's the beauty of us hooking up with merging this whole Black August and Happily Natural thing. You know what I'm saying? It's two separate situations, but at the same time, we brought it all together because of the fact that I knew for a fact that many of the sisters that's going to come out and brothers that's going to come out and support Happily Natural, they might not have came out to hear what we had to say on the political side of things. You know what I mean? So just the best of both worlds. We are certainly grateful. Shout out to our brothers and sisters on all coasts that's listening to us right now. You know what I mean? And definitely I love working with the three of you that's on the line right now because you've all added something positive to what it is we have, and I'm eternally grateful. And, I look forward to building an empire with y'all. That's where.
Hey, brother Kalonji, I'd like to thank you too, brother. You really are the lever that's clicking a lot of this into motion, man. So, it's a blessing. It's a blessing, for me. I'm truly blessed to be in the company of some dedicated warriors. So let's get it, y'all. I know we about to reach that 10 o'clock hour. So before we go, I want to make sure Ajoke, Kiyomi, y'all go ahead and let everyone know that's listening how to get in contact with you all and your movements, so that people can follow up, make those connections after we go offline, and especially when it goes into replay.
Okay. Well, you can reach the Good Hair Shop on online, thegoodhairshop.com. The motto of the shop is "Here, everybody has good hair." We on Facebook, we on Twitter, we on everything. But the Good Hair Shop, that's how you get in contact with us.
Yeah. And with me, I can be reached on Facebook. The name is Ajoke, Ajoke. If you search, I'm sure you won't find many others. In terms of the catering, we're at the MWAZA company.com. My artist page is malikahameen.com. Definitely hit up ftpmovement.ning.com for a lot of the other things that, we organize on that level.
Okay. All right. Brother Kalonji.
Yeah, y'all know where to find me. I'm in the hood near you. www.ftpmovement.ning.com, www.ftpmovement.ning.com. Hit me on Facebook, Kalonji Changa. And shout out to our sister Eastern Bay over in the Bay right now, over in Oakland or whatever. She just hit us up, let us know she's listening. And in this next hour, we're gonna be dealing with the Oscar Grant case. So, you all please don't touch that dial. You've been listening to HarambeRadio.com. For the manifest, giving you information. We got like 35 seconds on the pot.
Yeah, you can get at us at happilynaturalday.com. That's happilynaturalday.com. Make sure y'all tune in to August. August is going to be off the chain. I'm telling you, there's going to be a lot of programs going on relevant to Black August and Happily Natural Day. Y'all make sure that you all keep your ears open. Go on Facebook. Google Happily Natural Day on Facebook, and you'll be able to find ways to stay connected, find ways to keep the updates coming. Look me up on Facebook, Brother Manifest, or check me on Twitter, Twitter.com/Brother Manifest. And I look forward to connecting with you, and I love you all for supporting what we got going on, and I look forward to working with you in the near future.
No doubt. Salute to the comrades, y'all.
Peace.
All right, peace.
Peace.
Peace.